All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ranjana Kaur. We're just going to give a couple more minutes for a few of you to join. I know some folks are finishing up lunch, breakfast, maybe a snack. So just give us a couple more minutes and Dustin and I will get started shortly. All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year to everybody. 2024. I can't believe it's already 2024 and the month is already done. And I'm sure all of you guys are prepping for a busy tax season to come, as we are as well. So today we're going to be discussing the new year and new Intuit Sign features. If we want to just move into the quick next slide. Again, my name is Ranjana Kaur. I am a sales leader here for Profile Canada as well as ProTax. And alongside me, I also have, go ahead, Dustin.
Hi, everyone. Dustin Schisler here. I'm the product manager for Profile Canada. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here with everyone today.
And alongside us as well, if you guys noticed on the first slide, we had friends. We do have a handful of great Intuit folks on the Q&A section of the Zoom who will be answering your questions if you do have any during the webinar. We also will be having a Q&A session at the end. If we just want to jump to the next slide, please. All right, so agenda for today, we've done the introductions, check. That's all good today, all good to go. We'll be going over the webinar details on what we're going to be discussing today, also Intuit Sign for Profile, just a demonstration done by Dustin. So we're going to be setting up the Intuit Sign just from a user side perspective, also viewing the client side of Intuit Sign, and then also the user dashboard, which personally is my favorite feature on Intuit Sign. Then we're going to be having our live Q&A. We did book a full hour for this. I don't anticipate us to utilize the full hour, but if our questions do go that long, we definitely will be. And then we'll be wrapping up.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, so your webinar, just the webinar details. As most of you know, you will be receiving 1 CPD credit for your participation in this webinar. So that will be emailed to you after. We have care agents, aka friends, answering questions live in the Q&A chat. So feel free to please go ahead and use the Q&A button on Zoom, not the chat feature, the Q&A button where they'll be answering your questions live. And then also a copy of this webinar will be emailed to you within 1 week. All right, just the next slide. Thank you. So some of the things that we're going to be going over from a key feature perspective is that we're going to talk about Intuit Sign, having everything all in one spot, being able to request your client signatures and also quickly take action without leaving profile itself. We've been hearing customers from last year really talking about, hey, I'd really like an e-signature solution that's within the tool, that's just utilized for tax purposes. We've heard from a handful of customers that the cost is astronomical for the different solutions that they're using. So we did launch this um, late last year. I say early because it's early fiscal for us, but late last year. And we've been able to see some great trends from it as well. You'll be able to simplify and protect your signature request, stay compliant, which is a huge thing with CRA requirements, and you're able to send unlimited requests. That was a really big feature that was asked from our accountants and tax preparers, and then just offering an easier way for clients to sign and then being able to track. Sometimes what ends up happening is that you're sending the request to sign and then they forget, you forget, and then no one signs the document. So you'll be able to see that live from a dashboard perspective, which Dustin will definitely be going into.
Yep.
And then you're also able to create reminders and expiration dates for requests. So if something needs to be done within a week and they need to sign, you'll get a reminder and they'll get a reminder. And you'll also be alerted that they haven't done so yet. So without further ado, if you can click the next slide, I'm going to pass it over to, oh, sorry, my bad. If you want to go back one slide, I'm going to pass it over to Dustin, who's going to be going over the Intuit's e-signature demonstration, focusing on those 3 different areas that I discussed earlier today. And then we'll also be discussing the new features with an Intuit Sign that has come. Over to you, Dustin.
Awesome. Thanks, Ranjana. Thanks for a great introduction. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy to be here today and to share what we have going for Intuit Sign. So I'm going to take over the screen here and we'll do a demo. And we'll walk you through how to connect to Intuit Sign, request a document signature, select the documents you want for signature, confirm the client details, review and send, and then monitor the status of that request. Then we're also going to walk you through what the client experience would be like, which is pretty important to this as well. We tried to make it simple for clients to make that signature without a lot of password keeping and trying to remember what their login was from the previous year. So you'll see all that as we go through the demo. Like Ranjana mentioned, we do have some friends that are answering our Q&A questions. Feel free to hop in, ask some questions. There will be a bit of time for Q&A at the end as well. So let's hop into it. I'm just going to steal the screen here. Okay, and just before I start moving around here, I'll just make sure that everyone can see my screen. Should be a profile window as well and not my email, hopefully. So get a thumbs up from somebody that we're good. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Alrighty, so this probably looks familiar. Here we are in profile. I do have a return open in an effort to save time for the demo, so I have prepared a return, but we'll get into that in a second. First thing I want to go over is when you purchase profile, you can also purchase an Intuit Sign license. You can enter that in profile in the same place that you would manage your licenses for any of the other modules. So you can go under help, manage licenses, and then you can enter your Intuit Sign e-signature license in here. Once you've done that, you'll still need to connect because this is an online service and we're connecting from a desktop product. So you're going to go to File, and then if you scroll down, you'll see there's an e-signature section. It says Connect, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to prompt me with my One Intuit account login. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign in here to my Intuit account. Okay, I'm just going to connect my business here. And we're done. We are connected. So the next step, and I believe I saw a question come through Q&A here, and maybe this is where they got hung up. So hopefully this will help. As you can see, it automatically pulled me into the integration options for electronic signatures. We do still offer a DocuSign integration as well as an Adobe Sign integration. more than welcome to use those in conjunction with Intuit Sign. And again, like Ranjana alluded to, the goal here is to have a very narrow and specific set of signature capabilities that live within the profile product, that you don't have to necessarily keep leaving the product to do. It's easier to manage. And with that narrow focus, it can drastically reduce the cost as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Intuit Sign here. And you'll see I have a connect button. I'm going to go ahead and hit connect because I've already signed into my One Intuit account. And I am now connected. All right. So now what I can do, I'm just going to hit OK to close that off. You'll see here that I have a return open. Just a reminder, all the data here is fake. So, pay no attention to the names. They are hopefully not real people or just made up names. And so what I'm going to do first is I'd like to show everyone how to request a document for a signature. There are some new features that we've added that I'll touch on in a second, but I'm going to start with a single request. So what I'm going to do, I have a 2023 T1 return open here in my window. So I'm going to go back to my file menu, down to e-signature, and you'll see now that I've connected, it's changed. There's two different options here. There's collect e-signature and dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and click collect e-signature. This is going to bring up my request window. Now you'll see a disclaimer at the top here, and this is one of the most recent enhancements that was delivered about a week ago now, just in time for season. And this is the ability to collect two signatures on the T1032 form for joint election to split pension income. I'll show you that in a sec, but what I'd like to start with is just a single request here to a single individual. So I'm going to go ahead and click the T183 form. Now I can actually, another new feature, if anyone is joining us again from the first webinar, we've also launched the capability to add more than a single document to the envelope. You can now add up to 5 documents to one envelope for a single taxpayer, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick 5 here. And again, I'm not an accountant, so I'm just picking 5 random documents here to get a signature on for demo purposes. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I also get a nice little warning here to remind me I can only select up to 5, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Okay, and you can see I have my list of 5 documents here, and this is the signing order that the recipient will sign them in. So let's say I actually wanted my authorize a rep form to go first. I can drag that up or drag this one down, and you can rearrange these how you see fit and how you would want your client to sign them. Okay, so I have my documents in the order that I want them to be in, selected the right ones. So I'm going to hit the next button and then confirm my client details. Now, when we get to this screen, I think it's important to call out that the way our verification system works is that they have to validate their identity based on the information that's given to their mobile provider. Now, this is important because security is always our #1 task here at Intuit. We want to make sure that your data is safe. We want to make sure that your client's data is safe. And this is a very secure way to go about this. And so you can see I have my client's name listed in the taxpayer information. So what's going to happen is I send this request out. Well, actually, I'll show you what will happen, but I'm going to send this request out. This is the information my client provided me as far as their address and mobile phone number. So I'm going to just take a look at my email message here and see if I want to change anything. This is a standard default template, but you can change it if you like. I'm going to just update it because I put a couple documents in here. You will also see that there are brackets with client name. The reason for that is because it's going to pull that, much like it pulled this contact information from the return that I created. If you may have noticed, I didn't have to type any of that information in. This client name in brackets here is actually going to pull in the client name as well. So you can use templates for various clients and keep it consistent, and it'll actually say their name when they get the email invite, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And now this is going to bring me to the reminders and expiration screen. Another really great feature that we have, in particular the expiration, because we don't want a link hanging out there for a while where someone else could potentially access it if they happen to get the customer's cell phone or whatever and pass through that. This will expire after a certain amount of time, which means the information isn't floating around. If they don't end up signing, the link will self-expire. There, you may also notice that we do have reminders here as well, or how I like to call it auto nagging, which is a really great feature. Gone are the days of having to call your client, "Hey, Jim, did you sign that yet?" Chasing them down with email, asking them, "This is going to do that for you. Let the reminder be the bad guy, not you." Chase them down. It's just going to send a simple reminder to ask them to sign the documents. You can customize these. These are set right now for what we have as defaults, but obviously you can change the number of days if you like for each one. You can uncheck them if you don't want to send reminders. And this is great because you could set a request to expire in 2 weeks' time to give them that 2 weeks to do the signature. And then you can decide when you want to start sending reminders. You can even accelerate those reminders after the first one if needed. And then give them a final warning just before the expiration is going to go to remind them to sign.
Just wanted to add something there, Dustin.
Mm,
If you don't remember, I'm sure you do. When we were building Intuit Sign and thinking about an e-signature solution for Intuit and Profile, and the customer calls that we'd get on, we actually spoke to an accountant that had a dedicated person for reminders solely. It wasn't
yeah,
an EA because it was just a dedicated person during tax season to call the list of of his customers to ensure that they're signing the document on time
yeah,
or they're getting it back to him on time. And that was a key feature that, I remember him mentioning, and a handful of customers after that as well. But it was not just the reminder portion, it was just the customization of like, hey, how often? And
yeah,
then also that expiration, just going back to what you were saying earlier on, keeping them accountable, but you also want to make sure that nothing gets uh it's expiring in a timely manner where the customer knows that, hey, I have to sign this document, and then there's no fear of the URL going anywhere else. So yeah, this is one of my favorite features within the tool, besides the dashboard that I know we'll go over soon.
yeah.
But just wanted to remind you of that story.
Yeah, yeah, it can be a full-time job. And hopefully this will save folks out there some time, hopefully some hiring pains as well. We'll do the nagging for you, so you don't have to. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit next. Just going to review my information. So I have my documents. Okay, those are the ones that I wanted. Recheck my client information. Jennifer, yep. Okay, all right. And then my reminders here as well. Looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send. All right, so that request went through. It's that easy to make a request on 5 different documents. I'm going to just go ahead and close this window for now. We are going to check out the dashboard, but I want to go through the signing experience first. I'm just going to close that, and then I'm going to open up my email here. And you'll see right at the top, I have an email from Intuit Sign. So I'm going to go ahead and click this review and sign button. And that's going to open up in a web browser. Okay, now as soon as I click that link, I get a code to my cell phone, and this is my one-time password. And what's great about this is that, like I mentioned before, with some other electronic signature providers, your clients need to create an account, maybe create a password. Chances are they probably have to reset their password every year as well. I know if I only use the password once a year, I'd probably forget it. Maybe that's just me, maybe not. But we're trying to simplify, both the professional and your experience as well as your client's experience with this solution as well. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the code I got to my phone. And for testing purposes here, it is all zeros, but typically this would be an actual code. But I'm using an internal device to do this today. So I got my code. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. If I didn't actually get my text message, my SMS one-time password, you can click here. The client can click here, and it will retrigger that verification code. And go ahead and hit continue. Oops, I think I have two of these open here. Okay, great. So here we are, my 5 documents. Now you may notice that they're blank. That's not because of the system limitations. That's because I didn't fill any of these documents out before the demo. Like I said, not an accountant. It would be fake numbers in here anyway, so we can just pretend we're all friends here, right? So, what you can see here is you can scroll through the documents. We have all 5 of them listed here, what they are. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll through my documents, make sure that everything is correct. My name's correct. My representative is correct. Okay, all of this looks pretty good. I think I'm ready to sign. So what I'm going to do is, oh, great. It tells me I have 5 documents to sign. I was just going to count them myself, but now I know exactly how many signatures I need to land on this interaction to get this back to my tax professional and get me on my way to submitting a tax return. If you want, or if your clients want, there are terms and conditions they can click on and check out. For the interest of time, I'm going to skip past that for now and check this little box and go into the e-sign document experience. Alrighty, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to type in our name. Okay, and you'll see that it comes up in a scripted font underneath. Okay, I spelled my name right, pretending I'm Jennifer, of course. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And what that's going to do is it's going to sign the first document for me. Okay, now from a legal standpoint, you do have to apply your signature to each document in the envelope. You can't just sign all. There's no sort of apply all option. This is based on conversations we've had with the CRA when building this. But so you will need to apply your signature for each document. But now that I've already reviewed my documents, I've signed the first one, and now with a few more clicks, I can finish signing all of these. You'll see the background, I might be going a bit too fast, but the background will update to the document that you're actually signing for as you sign each one. All right, and that's it. I can click send to send it back to the tax preparer. If I wanted to close the window and review before sending it back, I can do that as well, and then click the send button at the top here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, all done. I can close my browser. So as the client, I am completely done. I've signed all my documents and sent them back to my tax preparer. So now I'm going to put my tax preparer hat back on here and come take a look and see what this looks like. So here I am, I'm back in profile. And what I want to do is check the status of that request I just made and maybe check in on a couple others as well too. So I'm going to go back to my file menu and I'm going to click e-signature and then dashboard. And this is going to bring me to the dashboard, which is a very favorable feature by most of the customers we spoke to. Everyone loves the ability to be able to track the status of their work and see everything really high level up front, no surprises. And so you'll see I have my dashboard open. It's got some statuses here. If my client failed authentication, meaning that the information I used did not match that of their phone record and they weren't able to access the document, in which point I would need to validate that information with them to make sure that it's working okay. You will see that I do have an item here that says e-signature completed. But I'm going to go down here and find the one that I actually just sent because that was from a week ago. So if I take a look here, we have this guy. So you can see there's a line item here for this request. Each request will have its own separate line item. They get grouped together based on a personal identifier. So In this particular case, in some instances, I've been using the same SIN number for all my test files, which in the real world wouldn't actually be a thing. These would be listed out by individual client names. And as you can see, there's different columns that I can sort by. So I can sort by the name, the last activity, the status, as well as I can search for clients. If I have a big long list of requests that have gone out and come back in, this will be a way to narrow in on what I really need to focus on as far as collecting signatures and completing the returns. So you'll see here that this will list, if I hover over this, click it, it's going to show me the documents that I actually requested, which is great. I can also come over here under actions and look at the history. So this is going to give me the confidence that Jennifer is the one that actually signed this. You can see it even picked up the ID check failed there that I went through because I opened two windows by mistake. Not a typical thing. I just clicked a little too fast there, I think. But you can see here, there's envelope ID. It'll show me what the subject was of the email I sent, as well as the date and time it was sent, created, the status, and the recipients. Really cool. It's kind of like a little audit trail for your request. And then there is also an option to download that signed copy, and each signed document comes with a certificate of authentication. And I'll show you what that looks like here. If I can find my window. Alrighty, so you can see here, let me just pull out open one of these. It's opening in a web browser because I don't have a local PDF viewer on my computer. But if you did, it would just open in, like, say, Adobe PDF or whatever solution you're using there. I can see here Jennifer did sign my document that I requested. Looks like the date and timestamp was added automatically, which is great because the CRA typically wants that information. Okay, awesome. So that looks good. As far as this one goes, though, I just kind of want to check something to make sure that it was everything checks out, and I have proof that it was Jennifer signing this in case the CRA asks. So I'm opening up my certificate of authenticity. You can see Jennifer Kingaby, can see which email it was sent to, the time it was sent, signed, and viewed, as well as the IP address and a copy of the signature. Okay, great. I feel pretty confident that I have what I need to complete this return, assuming that Jennifer has sent payment for me already, of course. So I'm going to close that off. And then just going back to the dashboard here. We do also, like I mentioned, have recently launched the ability to get multiple signatures on a T1032 form. If that is the case, and you'll see one here, I can also look at the history here and see who signed it and when. Now, this might be a little misleading because I use the same name for both taxpayers, so it looks like it's the same person signing it, but there are actually two different signatures, and this happens sequentially. So if I'm creating a T1032 form and I have a pensioner and a pensionee, whoever's selected as the pensioner will be taxpayer one. They will get the copy of the form to sign first. They will go ahead and sign it. Once they've concluded their signature, the second taxpayer or the pensionee will then get an email notification. They'll get the same email with a link they can click on, and then they can sign on their line of the 1032 form and send it back to the tax pro as well.
And this is something that recently got added with the multi-signers, correct, Dustin?
That's correct, yeah. And I think this was on the slide that was flashed just before we hopped into the demo. But if you were with us last time, there's a couple new features, and keep in mind we're going to keep marching towards more and more features and really build this thing out. But we did recently launch January 17th, so a week ago today, we launched T3 support. So the T3 module works with Intuit Sign as well. There's a list of forms that are supported within the T3 module. We did also launch the T1032 support, so you can put a 1032 form in an envelope and collect 2 signatures from 2 taxpayers, a pensioner, pensionee, on that single form.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're pretty excited about that. And the week or two before that, we also launched the ability to add up to 5 documents in a single envelope for the single signer as well. Lots more to come here. It might be cliche, but I feel like we're just getting started with this. We've been collecting a lot of feedback from folks, obviously prior to this project and post-launch as well. We hear loud and clear what some of the most talked about and requested items are. And those are things that we will be working on or are working on already. So stay tuned. There will be more to come on this soon.
Awesome. Just want to do a quick time check, Dustin, for us. We have about 28 minutes left. We want to leave some time for the live Q&A as well. And I'm sure, and I'm assuming you have more things to go over in the demo itself.
I think maybe we could hit the pause button and jump back over to the slide deck. We showed what the request experience is like, connecting to Intuit Sign, reviewing, sending requests, signing those requests, the client experience. So I think we can jump back over.
Fantastic.
Do we want to go to the next slide here? I'm just going to read this to make sure I didn't forget to mention any of these things. yeah. So these are what's new. A week ago, we added multiple signers on the pension split form and T3 support. A couple weeks prior to that, multiple documents in a single envelope. And like I said, we're just getting started here. We can go to the next slide.
Justin, can I just plug it in here?
Yeah, Justin, of course.
We're getting a lot of questions about, are we going to add an engagement letter? A lot of people are asking that, so I wonder if you could handle that directly, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to get to that too when I was talking about how we're just kind of getting started. So yeah, engagement letters, client letters, we hear loud and clear that this is pretty much the top requested feature to add here. This is something that we are working on to deliver. It's a little more complex than we initially understood from some of the research that we were doing, but the team is working on this. This is something that we plan to deliver for Intuit Sign. As far as the timing goes, I can't comment specifically when that would be, but based on internal conversations, I do not believe that would be in time for this year's tax season. That would be a next year tax season item.
But we are working actively.
Yes, 100%.
And it's one of our top priorities. It just seems to be a bit more bigger than we anticipated to build. But with that being said, really looking forward to adding that feature within Profile.
Yeah, and a lot of it really comes down to the fact that a client letter is customizable. So as you see through the forms that we've gone through today, these are CRA forms. The signature coordinates are the same on each one of them. I mean, they might update year over year, and we'll update that on our side. But with client letters, the signature could really appear anywhere based on the customization. So that does add a little bit of complexity to our approach to deliver that solution. I know that there are others out in market there right now. And we will get there as well too. Like Ranjana mentioned, it's something the team's working on. And we do realize that is the top ask as a feature to add here. So that will be coming, but I can't guarantee it will be for this tax season.
Yep. Awesome. So we went through these main things, the client side, the user dashboard, and setting up Intuit Sign as well in the demonstration. Maybe before we jump into, I think the next slide, if you just want to jump into the next slide. Coming soon. Dustin, you want to take this away?
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned, we're just getting started. The next phase of delivery, now that we've been able to go out the door with our T3 support and the pension split forms, multiple docs in a single envelope. The next thing that you'll see as far as an update goes is French language support. So the whole experience will be delivered in the French language. That would include both you and your client. And then, of course, there will be some Revenue Quebec forms that we're adding as well that'll be supported and you'll be able to use to collect signatures on. So that's the next release that's coming up. I do anticipate that this will be out in time for tax season as well.
Oh, exciting news. Next couple weeks look really good. And something I think we may have forgotten to include, Dustin, is the overall mobile support with Profile and where we're trending towards that. I know we have a lot of carriers that we currently support, but I believe that there's two currently that we do not, and we're working hard to ensure that they do get added on.
Yeah, I think you're referring to SaskTel and Videotron.
Yes.
So Saskatchewan and Quebec. So we do support the three major mobile carriers in Canada. That's Rogers, TELUS, and Bell, as well as some of their subsidiary mobile providers that are underpinned under those companies. And we are working with our ID proofing team to build out the capabilities and expand our coverage across Canada so more and more folks can use this solution. So that's another thing that we are working on, but a great call out to mention, if your majority of your client base is in Saskatchewan using SaskTel, this may not be the right solution just yet for you, but it will be at some point, I'm sure.
All right, I believe the next slide that we have is a live Q&A. So I'm gonna open up our Q&A portion here and just kind of skim through some questions. One second. All right, so this question's from Ahmed. And the question is, how can you deal with the code with one that doesn't have a Canadian phone?
That's a good question. Like I alluded to in speaking to the mobile provider support, knowing your client base is helpful because maybe this isn't the right solution for your client base based on what their requirements are. If they don't have a Canadian mobile phone, this technically wouldn't work for them just yet. If they don't have a mobile phone in general, this wouldn't work for your clients either. So it's more about understanding those little nuances to realize if this is the right signature solution for you at this point in time.
Alrighty, thanks, Dustin.
Yeah.
Next question is from Shirley Tom. How could a client sign without receiving and reviewing their tax return, which I believe they're able to review it when they get the link? And when do the clients get a copy of their return in this process?
I'm not sure I understood the first question, but let me see if I can find it in the Q&A here.
I just answered it here. I'll read it to you again. How could the client sign without receiving and reviewing their tax return?
Yeah, that's a pretty valid question. The portal at its current state is only for sending documents that require a signature. We know that there's a gap with sending the full package. Some folks like to get the T1 package signed by their client as well, which is where a custom signature similar to the engagement letter would be beneficial. And as mentioned, that is something that we are working on currently.
And second part to that question is,
can I just add to that?
Sorry.
Let me just add to that. It's Duncan here. You could email them a copy of the return before you do the e-signature. The other thing is that the final information is on the T183. So like if it doesn't make sense to them what they owe, what the balance is, that sort of thing, then they wouldn't need to sign it. So I guess there could be other communication to the taxpayer instead of just here's something to sign.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for jumping in with that. And Just the other part of Shirley's question. Currently, the client could do a print screen. Otherwise, if they want a signed copy of the signature document, they can request that from the tax pro if needed.
Something that I think that we didn't go through, Justin, and forgive me if we have, was how does pricing work for this thing? And how we is it per user, per envelope? We didn't go through all that amazing things that the tool actually has. I know we went through the features, but do we want to go through that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. So team, everybody, the solution is currently priced at $120 per license, and that's not per user, it's per license, which is fantastic, and it has unlimited returns as well. So anyone that has access to your license would be able to use this feature within Profile. So again, it's $120, which is a steal.
Yeah, and that is for unlimited signatures,
Yes.
unlimited users in your firm, as well as it works for the T1, T2, and T3 module. I did see a question in there asking about FX. At the current time, FX is not supported with our Intuit Sign signature application.
Yes, I think that question was from Maureen. Does T2 and FX modules have e-signature work? And currently they do not. All right. Joey had a question. His question was, will the email go to spam?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't necessarily have the answer for that. Mine have never gone to spam, but it could be dependent on the email provider and some of the settings, the spam settings within your client's email. So it's hard to say. All the testing that I've done with this application, none of them have gone to spam. But it might be a case by case basis if your client has heightened spam rules in their Outlook or in their email application.
All right, next
So
question.
yeah, short answer, I'm not sure, to be honest. It hasn't for me, but that doesn't mean it couldn't.
And I think it depends on the user, like you mentioned, like maybe maybe they have a lot of promo emails that come to them, or they get a lot of spam emails, and maybe they don't. So I think it's just dependent on the customer. But as always, as a precaution, I would mention it to customers just in case it doesn't go into their actual inbox itself. All right, next question from Mandy Dustin. For an office with numerous users, can one user log in to the dashboard and see which user sent the form?
Yes, in theory, yes.
All right. Kathleen had a question. Does the system require 2 emails for the T1032 form?
Yeah, so because there's 2 signers, there is a spot for 2 emails, as well as 2 names, 2 addresses, 2 postal codes, 2 of everything for that request. Do they have to be unique and different? Not necessarily, no. Understood that some couples may share an email account, but that there is no restriction to have those 2 emails technically be unique from each other. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Steve's question is, where are the signed forms saved?
Yeah, they are stored within the Intuit cloud. As a tax professional using Intuit Sign, you'll have access to those for 7 years to stay compliant with the CRA. No need to download and save them to your local drive. We're doing the storage for you.
Alrighty. So Eniko Bartha had a question. So she bought the e-signature feature in November, and it says, I already had a client, but I was not able to use the e-signature. The authentication failed, and even after several attempts. I have elderly clients which the authentication step would make it impossible for them to sign. Is there a way, or how can I opt out of the authentication step? And if there's a possibility for that?
Yeah, so currently there is no possibility to opt out of the authentication process. This is a security mandate from not only the CRA, but from Intuit as well. But we do recognize that there has been some folks that are unable to authorize, even though some of the information seem to check out. So we are exploring additional options in this area as well. To make it a little bit easier and usable for more clients. So more to come on that.
Sue's question was, can a firm personalize the email that goes out to the client? I think what they mean is like the adding the logo and structuring the email they want to.
Yeah, if the question's about the template or the messaging subject line or email message, yes, you can customize that. And I believe I went through that in the demo, but if the question is more around, can you customize the email and the document portal where they're doing the signature? The answer is not yet, not yet. Have heard similar feedback from other folks as well, too. So that's something that we're taking a look at.
Maureen's question is, can a supervisor review staff's outstanding signature requests? So this is on the dashboard itself.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. And Maureen, that feature would be you going into the dashboard, seeing the list of requests that currently are under your firm, and you'll be able to see anything that's outstanding and anything that's pending, anything that's expired, and chat with your team on that as well. One question. Are we able to provide clients with their notice of assessment? If so, how do we do it? That question was from Alfredo.
Thanks for the question, Alfredo. For this particular application of Intuit Sign, I guess the short answer would be no. That would be a separate communication. But at the current time, no, that's not an available document to send through the signature portal.
Jenna had a really great question. Her question is, will the dashboard work the same way regardless of which signing solution choice that they have you make, or is the dashboard shown today specific to Intuit Sign?
Yeah, good question. It is specific to Intuit Sign. Yeah. So
that we have.
yeah, we noticed that was a gap in some of the other solutions that integrate, is the ability to manage everything in a clean looking dashboard with all the information there. So that was built for this product, but is not something that's intertwined with DocuSign or Adobe Sign Experience.
Next question is from Margaret. Can we use this feature for only the current year, or is there any other years that we can use it for?
So currently, T3 will be for 2023, T1 and T2 2023, but those two modules are backward compatible to 2022 as well. There currently aren't plans to go back in time, but we are going to continue going forward with compatibility, and there will be some backward compatibility available just to make sure that everyone can collect signatures on the returns that they have with their clients.
Awesome. Anonymous. Can never say that word properly, Dustin. Anonymous attendee. So someone that prefers not to be named. Question was, can Intuit Sign work outside of Profile, for example, to sign any other documents?
At the current time, no. It's an application in conjunction with Profile as an add-on service. So the documents, and this is kind of what we were alluding to, is how we were able to keep the costs low because we're using strictly documents within the tax software itself.
Yep.
There's currently no way to apply this to any documents outside of the tax solution that you're using it for, and in this case, Profile.
Question from Kim is, does the date and time autofill on the actual T183 form?
So it does auto-populate on the signed form, the PDF form that gets the signature, and we are working on updating the profile form so they reflect that as well too. So coming soon, I would say.
One second. Marian's question was in regards to, she had an earlier question about the dashboard. And now her other question is, can all users in the firm see what all the users in the firm have sent out? So essentially, if I'm the accountant, you're an accountant as well, Dustin, and we have our tax returns, will I be able to see how many forms you have pending, vice versa? Would that be on the dashboard for everyone to view?
Yeah. So with the dashboard, assuming everyone is part of the same realm or same firm, it would have all signature requests from that firm on the same dashboard. There is some work to do as far as adding additional filters to the dashboard, which we're working on as well. But yes, short answer.
Okay. I think we answered this, but I'll ask you again. Andy's question is, how long is signed signed tax slips retained on your server? Do we need to download the signed forms on our network?
Yeah, so 7 years we store the documents for online with no need to download. But if you do want to download them and keep them stored locally, by all means. But we are providing storage as part of this service for 7 years to stay compliant with CRA requests and regulations.
Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, Michael had a question. Can you purchase e-signature from inside profile?
Currently, no. The purchase would happen on the same web page that you purchase your modules from.
If a
So
client, sorry,
no, go
my
ahead.
bad, Dustin. Go ahead. Can finish your thought. Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, Red. I lost it. Yeah.
Susan's question was that if a client does not have a mobile phone, is there an alternative way to receive the code?
At the current time, no. The authentication is done through mobile providers, which is why we mentioned, in some cases, this solution may not be the right fit for the firm just yet. But I'm very confident that it will be at some point. And so we're exploring alternative paths there as well. Understood that not everyone has a mobile phone. So we're taking a look at that as well.
Lorna's question was, are you able to add a copy of the tax return?
I think this is similar to the question earlier as well.
Yeah.
And currently, no. That would be sent through a separate communication, like Duncan pointed out previously.
Okay. I think, oh, let me see if there's anything else. I think the majority of the questions we have answered. There's similar questions in here. Oh, one last question. How do we handle signing for family returns? We usually deal with one family member. So with the e-signature, we would have to send to each family member separately and each needs a unique phone number and email address.
So I guess it depends on what we mean by family return, but assuming that that's a spouse and some dependents, and outside of the T1032, the signature request would be sent to individuals. So if you have, taxpayer one return open, you can send them up to 5 documents to sign. Then you can do the same with the spouse, or if the dependent needs to sign something as well. But it wouldn't be in a single family request just yet.
Alrighty, I think that is it. We have 5 minutes left, Dustin. Was there anything that you wanted to cover before we jump off?
Not that I can think of, but I do want to thank everyone for their time today. Love all the questions that have been coming in. Really great questions. Hopefully the answers we provided helped. and have given you some confidence in this solution for a profile. So thank you for your time, everyone. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. And Dustin and I enjoy doing this together. And again, if we just want to go to the slide right beforehand, Dustin and I's email are listed here. So if you do have any other questions that you guys would like to sorry, that you have, please feel free to email us. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Dustin. And thank you, everybody else on this call.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.